You just see a green fist come out of nowhere and stop the punch, right? That would be absolutely epic. Like, I'm here for that.
Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Weekly Fix. My name is Jacob, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Zane. And we have an exciting episode for you guys because we are going to be diving deep into some of the SDCC news that was finally revealed to us. And I got to say, it was a pretty stacked lineup as far as Marvel is concerned, with some big news bombs dropped. But there were some people that didn't really show up, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. If you guys didn't realize, we recently dropped our Deadpool and Wolverine review. So if you guys wanted to go check that out, you guys can always see that on the channel as well. We had a really great time talking about that. But you guys, like I said, it's already on the channel. So let's talk about some of the new SDCC news that I'm super excited to talk about. I think the first thing we're going to hop right into, Zane, is DC. DC was really not very prevalent at SDCC this year. What do you take of that?
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty funny that, we had made the comment, oh, they're not coming, and then, we found the report that said, oh, they actually were coming, and then James Gunn actually dropped out of coming a few days before and said that he was unavailable. So I think that was kind of just them not ready to really set the hype. And I think they're kind of learning from Marvel's mistakes from 2022 when they announced way too much stuff, or maybe that was even 2021, where they announced way too much stuff, got way ahead of themselves, and I think they really need to kind of fill out the waters. Everyone knows where they're going with it. We know that their first, phase of the DCU will be Gods and Monsters. So we're getting Superman Legacy next year or 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then, we're getting Creature Commandos coming out recently, which they dropped a trailer for. And then we're getting the Matt Reeves universe kind of in, parallel with that release. So yeah. I don't think it was a bad play because we did get the Matt Reeves Penguin trailer and some panels for that. So I don't think it was a complete absence, but I was surprised James Gunn dipped out, but I don't think it was too bad. And just for those of you who don't know, SDCC is San Diego Comic-Con. For those of you who aren't super nerds like us, that's what we're talking about. The biggest Comic-Con in the country where most people drop all of their news. That was had this last weekend over the 28th.
Yeah, it's super fun. SDCC is something I think all of us nerds look forward to because that is kind of the roadmap of the future for DC, Marvel. Sometimes Star Wars is there. It's really just a good time to get to see what all is coming out, whether you're just a fan of movies and shows or if you're a collector like we are as well. There's also a lot of cool collectible stuff that gets dropped. It's really just a fun time overall. But, Zane touched on DC maybe making a good call by not showing up here and trying to release too much stuff way too early. And I kind of agree there. I think it would be better for DC, which in all reality has kind of been in the slumps for a while now, compared to Marvel, compared to the Star Wars of the world. They've kind of just been on the back end of everything, just releasing stuff here and there and never really gets well received. So I think them taking the time to just do one thing, let's get out a couple trailers, let's say a little bit of what we're doing, but we're not quite ready to go ahead and release everything. I think that's a pretty good call. Now, I will say the Matt Reeves universe, the Penguin trailer that we have recently gotten and, that upcoming show, that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most as far as the DC universe that we're getting right now, because we do know Superman's still a little ways away. So I think something that's coming a little more sooner, and I actually really enjoyed the Batman movie. That's got me pretty excited.
Okay. Yeah, I think pretty much everyone can kind of agree that maybe getting ahead of themselves does more damage than good. Mm-hmm. The hype train's there. Superhero movies aren't going anywhere as of yet. Maybe they'll have their Western treatment, eventually where, some people die off, but, it's full, well and strong now. Then, there was a bunch of other news other than just movies. There's just the comics, and we even talked about Dungeons and Dragons always has a panel. Honor Among Thieves was there, so I think that was pretty cool. Now, you love the Batman, right?
Yes, I really enjoyed it.
I personally, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it like everyone else did. I think maybe one of the best Batman entries. I think it was the best Gotham we've ever seen. There was a lot of good. I just did find myself bored a little bit in the movie. I didn't think the cinematography was as good as everyone else said it was. It had its moments to shine. I didn't think it was a good Bruce Wayne. But I am excited for the Penguin show. I think they're going to do a good job with it. And Colin Farrell seems to have just absolutely thrown himself into this role. of Penguin, and you said you were excited to watch that show. Did you get anything from SDCC, or did you just you're just the same for the Penguin show?
Just the same for the Penguin show. I think it's something I'm looking forward to. Like I said, that's really the only DC stuff we have right now. And talking about superhero movies not really going anywhere, if I'm not mistaken, I think Superman and Batman might still be the two most expensive IPs or characters, maybe outside of Spider-Man. I think they're still the top three, value-wise. So there's definitely still a lot of value in having those titles and stuff there. So I think it goes back to saying I think it's smart that DC does not need to be building hype right now. They still have plenty of time to do that in the future. You don't have to reveal something at SDCC. So I think they did do a good job of just, hey, here's a couple of things. We're not going to dive deep into our 10-year roadmap because they probably don't even know what that looks like yet either. So I think them doing that rather than saying, hey, here's everything that's coming when they don't even know it's for sure on its way, I think that was smart.
Yeah, I did really want to see who they cast as Booster Gold, and I really wanted to see Lantern's news.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about how much I adore those comic books, and I really want to see that done justly in the DC universe. And I think James Gunn is the man to do it. So I really was hoping to get an update on maybe directors or who they've cast as Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan, but we didn't see any of that. And we know those are the two characters that they're going to be following. But all that news is out there, so they didn't have to be at the SDCC to do it. It gives Super Nerds some hype and some of the fun things to look forward to. But I think everyone's already so looking forward to James Gunn's universe that we're going to be fine with just waiting.
Yeah, I think you touched on it perfectly. That news is already out there. Us Super Nerds that are already learning about SDCC and watching those reveals, we're also keeping up with the other news outlets that are reporting these things. So that was a smart move on their behalf. I don't think they needed to do something like Marvel has done in the past, where they've given us too much content. Like Zane touched on, I think this was smart just for them to go ahead and just give us a few things. Now, one thing that definitely wasn't lacking was we're going to go ahead and hop right into the Marvel panel. And I think there was a lot of good that was revealed about the Marvel panel, but there's been a lot of controversy as well. And we're going to make our way through some stuff. So if there's one thing in particular you guys wanted to hear about, we're going to have timestamps down in the description to let you guys know when we're talking about each individual thing that was announced during the Marvel panel and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and start off with probably the one that had the biggest reveal potential. And by saying that, I mean we kind of knew it was going to be there because it had been talked about, was Fantastic Four. We got some really cool things with that. We finally got the official title for the Fantastic Four. They revealed some other cool things, such as some villains we're going to see. Zane, what did you think about the Fantastic Four news that we got?
I thought it was a little protected. I thought that they went safe with it. I don't think we got, apparently the people in person got to look at Galactus, and it's very comic accurate, but they didn't release that. They didn't show that. So they apparently were pretty stingent with it. I like the setting that they said they're going to go for. I think that's going to be fun. It gives us a little bit more insight on what they're doing with it. So they said it's going to be set in the 1960s, but it's going to be a futuristic 1960s, kind of like the Jetsons comic. So that clearly means we're in an alternate universe for this one, which I'm surprised at, that they're going full alternate universe. I thought they may have kind of did it like the Elijah Bradley kind of storyline where he was there, but it was kind of covered up. So I thought they may have been in the shadows or slipped to time or something happens at the end of the movie. But now we know it's in an alternate reality, which I don't really have strong opinions on either way. I'm fine with it. As long as they give us a great story, I'm good with it. So I thought the news for it was safe. I didn't think there was anything that really excited me. I kind of have the exact same opinions of the movie right now that I did before San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I do think it was interesting we did get the title, which is Fantastic Four: The First Steps, which me and you both kind of touched on. I'm not really a big fan of that title. I know you're not really a big fan of that title. Do you think this is going to be something that goes through a name change down the road, or do you think they're going to stick with that title?
I think they'll probably stick with it. I mean, this comes out next May, right?
Yes.
So I don't see Agatha changing the title of this one. So I think they're going to stick with this. I think there's a purpose for it. I think that they will tie it into the movie. I don't think that this was a thoughtless title. I think that they put work into getting it, which most of their titles nowadays are very much purposeful. So I think that this is going to stick, and if it doesn't, that's all right.
Well, and that's a perfect segue for me to remind you guys. Make sure you're rating the channel. Make sure you're, sharing our podcast to other people because I heard that the panel that they had for Marvel was really cool because they actually had the Fantastic Car floating around, which we did get a first look of what it's kind of going to look like, and they had it actually pick up the cast and they actually rode off in it, which I thought was really cool. So if you guys want us to be able to actually report on some of those things, and we got to get to that level at some point, make sure you guys are liking, sharing, doing all that stuff for us. We really do appreciate it. But all jokes aside, I think Fantastic Four news was fun. Kind of what I expected. I did expect a little more, but they did play it pretty safe. Now, the next thing that we did hear a little bit about was the Thunderbolts. I was a little bit surprised with how much information we got on the Thunderbolts as opposed to Fantastic Four. I feel like we got a lot more news on the Thunderbolts than we did the Fantastic Four. What did you think about the Thunderbolts panel?
I think it did justice to the Thunderbolts panel. I think they actually encouraged more people to like it. I think that this is a movie that no one really thought that they wanted, that they were like, I don't know why they're doing this. The characters aren't that lovable, and it just seems like another Suicide Squad. So I think that they actually did a good job with this one. From the trailer breakdowns that people released, they showed a trailer in person. They have not released that yet. But everyone seemed to really like that trailer. They were talking about it. I think David Harbour is going to be doing a great job as Red Guardian. I think he loves doing that role. Mm-hmm. I think he's so happy to be in it. And then Yelena, I think that she is going to be a great star for this movie. I think she's a wonderful actress and that she is going to do wonders in that role for this one. So I was happy with it. I was surprised that we didn't get like a big reveal for Sentry. Maybe like the actor coming out in full costume. I thought we might get a costume reveal for Sentry, and then apparently he wasn't in the trailer at all. But the actor for Sentry was there, Lewis Pullman. He was the nerdy guy from Top Gun Maverick, and if anyone's seen that with the glasses, who really didn't really fit in with anyone else. His name in that one was actually Bob, which is his name in this movie, which I thought was interesting, but I don't necessarily have any opinions on him for Sentry. Sentry is not a comic character that I know much about. I know his story, but I've never read a comic book other than Civil War with him in it, and he's pretty much a side character, very, very little touched on there in that comic run. So Sentry's not one that I love, but I am interested to kind of get their interpretation and what they're going to be struggling with through this. I kind of like the dark, gritty side of Marvel. I think my favorite side of Marvel is the cosmic side, followed by the dark gritty. The Avengers actually isn't my favorite section of Marvel because I think when it goes worldwide threats, it kind of gets really tough to leave people in, leave people out. So I love the cosmic stuff, and then the dark gritty stuff like Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And I think this is kind of going to go along those lines. So I'm excited for that. What did you think?
You touched on one thing in particular that really I think they did a good job is it got people more excited. This was not something I was really ecstatic about. I'm happy to get any Marvel content, but it wasn't something I was like clamoring for that I wanted to hear more about. But after this panel, it definitely is something I'm looking a lot more forward to. You touched on the dark and gritty. I think that might be my favorite side of Marvel. And if you guys didn't know, I think that's one of the reasons why I liked the Batman so much. Is it was very dark and it was very gritty and it was those type of things. So I think that's why I'm so excited about this. I know this is Marvel, but I think those dark and gritty projects are usually sometimes the most thought-provoking in a sense because, they're mean, they're evil. They're like really getting you to think about how bad some of these people are. And I really enjoy that aspect of it. You touched on Yelena being the lead. I think that's great. I think she's probably the perfect character to be the lead of this movie. I think she's probably getting to the point where she's probably the biggest actor on that list of, David Harbour's up there, but Florence Pugh has made a name for herself, especially a lot recently. So I think that's great. One of the notes you have here is they specifically said that the Thunderbolts would not be named after Thunderbolt Ross, and we're kind of wondering why did they make that a point? So I think that's going to be some things we might learn, with Brave New World coming out and stuff like that. I think those will be all some fun storylines that go together because they've kind of used that same dark and gritty tone for when they talked about Brave New World, which we'll get to here soon. But I think those movies are going to be really good to go together. So I think that's something I'm really excited for. But overall, this movie, I think they did a great job with this panel getting more people excited.
Yeah, one of the things I was surprised about is I think Zemo is generally the Thunderbolts lead. and leader. So I was really kind of surprised that he wasn't at the forefront of this. It was Yelena instead. I think she's just more likable.
Hmm.
I think Zemo has kind of made a name for himself as a lesser villain. Even in Civil War, he was successful in defeating the Avengers, which was his plan allowed it to do it, but he's not substantial on screen. He's more his plan is what is shown on screen, not so much him. So I think that may be why they kind of strayed away from Zemo. Sebastian Stan is a great actor that's going to be put in this, and I'm really excited to see the Winter Soldier back on live screen because I really think he kind of got sidelined in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he really should be shining with his struggles and his emotions. And one thing that they touched on was that this was a reluctant group, that they were all dealing with it. And we get to see John Walker, which was also one of the best parts of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought his interpretation of the U.S. agent was actually spot on. Even though a lot of people didn't like what he did, that's what the U.S. agent is. He is a bad Captain America who is angrier, more vicious, and just doesn't have the moral code to be a hero like Captain America does. So I'm excited to see those two back on screen because they had a lot of tension in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and to kind of see them bring all that back up in this movie and bring that baggage in will be fun with Yelena. And then Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the actually probably biggest actress. Not currently going today, but for her time, on Seinfeld and everything else that she's been a part of. To see her kind of as that anti-Nick Fury lead for the assembling of this group, I'm really excited to see her because every time she's popped up, she's been the thread. We talked in the Deadpool Wolverine about nothing pushing it together, pushing the story forward. She's actually been something that's been pushing these low-level, dark, gritty stories along in the MCU, which I'm excited for, to see her finally get her kind of, I guess, culmination of those storylines that we saw start in Black Widow.
Hmm.
So to kind of see that come together, I'm excited to see her on screen and what she can do with it because I think she's gonna kill her role. So I'm excited for the cast. One that I'm seeing here on IMDb that I didn't see in person was Rachel Weisz, which plays Melina, who is Yelena's mother. I didn't see her at the panel or see any news about her, so I'm surprised that I'm seeing her as one of the top billed cast on IMDb, but I'm excited for it. I think this is actually going to be a shocker. I'm more excited for Thunderbolts than I am for Brave New World.
Oh, that's an interesting take because I still think Brave New World has the edge for me. But Thunderbolts definitely made a push. You talked on the U.S. agent, and I forget his actor's name, Wyatt Russell. He actually said that fans are going to love his character in Thunderbolts. So I'm excited to see what he means by that. Maybe he, gets more into that grittier role and people really just appreciate what he's willing to do. I think that would be cool. So I'm excited to see what he does because like Zane touched on, he was an interesting character in Falcon and Winter Soldier, or what was it?
Yeah,
Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah. So that's going to be fun, but I think they did a really good job with Thunderbolts. Overall, I think this one built some hype. I know people are excited about it, so that's always fun when they're able to take a movie that I think people weren't really excited about and turn it into people like us that are excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I actually didn't hear that his character is going to be loved, but everyone loves a redemption arc. And he kind of really screwed himself over in Falcon and the Winter Soldier with killing that person on the steps in person with the Captain America shield. Crazy moment to see a blood-soaked Captain America shield in the middle of the streets in a foreign country. So, he's got to redeem himself for what he's done and how he responded to some of those. So I'm excited to see his character and to hear that he thinks people are going to love him. I'm excited for what they're putting on the screen. That actually makes me even more excited for this film. The only thing I'm not excited for this film is Taskmaster. I think it was the worst part of Black Widow. I hate what they did with that character. I do not like any change they made with it. I don't like that it's Stark Tech. I don't like that they changed it to Drekhov's daughter. I don't like that it's not a mutant. I don't like the actress because she has there's nothing good that she did on screen. Not necessarily, I don't think there's anything against the actress, but I don't like what they're allowing her to do. So I hope they don't put her forefront at all. I hope that she just they kind of forget about the technology thing and she's just doing what Taskmaster does, which Taskmaster is amazing if they let him her fly in this one, the kind of the way she's supposed to, not literally fly, but actually perform the way that she's supposed to with her ability. So, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Thunderbolts. But yeah, that Wyatt Russell comment really gets me even more excited.
Yeah, that's super cool. And you mentioned hopefully, she could fly with some of that Stark tech.
Ooh,
You never
yeah.
know. But one character that's definitely going to be flying around is Falcon. And I think we got some really cool information about Brave New World, which is very exciting. We finally got to see what Giancarlo Esposito is playing, which is really exciting. We got to see some news about when we're going to see Red Hulk transform into the Red Hulk for the first time. What did you think about what we got from the Brave New World information?
I thought it was good. I was surprised. The biggest thing I was surprised about was the Giancarlo Esposito's character, Sidewinder.
Mm-hmm.
We all heard that it was George Washington Bridge, and then we, heard that he said no one guessed it right, so we all kind of went away from that. And then, so Sidewinder's the leader of the Serpent Society, which I heard they cut, that it didn't screen test well. So I'm surprised that they added in Sidewinder, the leader of that society, which didn't screen test well. But it also makes it kind of more understandable for how they could leave. Like the reshoots weren't so much. So pretty much what I think they're doing is they're taking that society that had negative reviews, kind of probably because it didn't have any structure, giving them a leader to kind of structure and to put in the forefront of that society. Then they're allowed to use all the footage that the society did still. They don't have to change any of that. And maybe that will test better with audiences because they have a leader behind it, someone who's actually thinking. Because, I had to do a little bit of research of what Sidewinder could do. Did you know what that character was?
No, I didn't.
So pretty much what that character is he is completely powerless. He is just the leader of the Serpent Society. And his biggest thing is he has a cloak. So he has a cloak with a microchip in his head, and that cloak allows him to sidestep into interdimensional space, and that's where he got his name Sidewinder. So he kind of through interdimensional space can teleport up to 50 miles away. I don't think they're going to limit him to that 50-mile radius for teleport, but I do think they're going to use his teleportation to be a big portion of this film and kind of will allow him to kind of zip in and zip out of those scenes where he would have been not shot in, because he was a late add to the movie. So like you can kind of see where they would just like let him teleport out and the scene would have been the same with or without him, kind of in and out. So I think that's actually a super interesting character to add in reshoots, but it kind of gave me a little bit more encouragement probably for how he's going to play into the movie with the reshoots, because it was a little bit worrisome. You told me you were worried about how front and center he was. I think this may alleviate your thoughts on that. Does it, or no? It kind of stays the same.
I think it does because we finally know what he is. Where I think the big thing for me was it was just kind of a mystery, and I was almost feeling as though they threw him into the movie just to have another big name and another big face. Reports we got from SDCC was that he's going to actually have a good role. And it's not just going to be kind of something that was thrown in there for the sake of being thrown in there. So I'm excited about that. I think that's cool. I think the thing I'm most shocked about, though, is how happy Harrison Ford is to be playing the Red Hulk. I think everyone knows the jokes about how he hates Star Wars, and he really doesn't like anything outside of Indiana Jones potentially. So I think it's funny that he seems to be having a really good time. He was up on stage acting like he was transforming into the Red Hulk, yelling and screaming and all sorts of stuff. Are you surprised to see how excited he is for this movie?
I am absolutely amazed that he was even at San Diego Comic-Con. Then he's up on stage giving his best interpretation, like looking like a clown up there trying to turn into Red Hulk on screen. I was blown away when I saw some of those videos that he was doing that. But it makes me glad. I think it makes me think that he believes in the character, that he was happy with what they put to screen. I don't think he's going to be sad with this film, and that encourages me more than anything else that came out of this news from San Diego Comic-Con for Brave New World, was that I think Harrison Ford will like the role that he's playing, and they did a good job with it.
Well, and another thing I'm excited about for this movie is we touched on the dark and gritty for the Thunderbolts, and I think they've already mentioned many times that Brave New World is going to have a similar feel. I'm excited to hopefully, I think it's funny because we kind of did hate a little bit on Deadpool and Wolverine being too much of a self-contained story. I kind of do hope that this movie is a little bit of a self-contained story in the fact that I hope it gives the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, his origin as Captain America. I feel like he's kind of just been thrown into it, and we really haven't got to see him have his Captain America moment. So I'm hoping that's kind of what this movie is letting him establish himself as that new Captain America. You know, we've seen in the trailers where they say, you know, you're not Captain America, you're not Steve Rogers. And I think it's going to be really cool that he's not Steve Rogers. You know, we're getting to actually see him as Sam Wilson. So I really hope this movie is grounded in the fact that they're not doing all the, and I don't think they're doing this, there's not going to be a lot of the multiverse stuff in this movie. I think this is going to be a self-contained movie in that respect. So I hope that's the way they go with this one. But again, I think some of the things that we got from Brave New World panel is things that also have encouraged me with the movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be self-contained at all.
Okay.
I think that's a real hard line to sell, dark and gritty and kind of grounded when it is the president of the United States as Red Hulk. Like, how is that grounded? Like, it's literally nationwide. They did touch that they were going to talk about the Eternals, that they were becoming, that's where adamantium enters the universe, which paves the way for Wolverine to enter R616 and maybe get an actor that's not Hugh Jackman to play him. So that was exciting for me because I want a new Wolverine. I think I've been pretty consistent on that since we had our favorite Marvel characters ranking, but I don't know how I don't know if they understand the word grounded, because I don't understand how you can blow up the White House and deal with adamantium Eternals and kind of set all these scenes and still be grounded. I know what you said with the intro to Captain America, but I mean that was he got a full 6-episode series that was supposed to do that. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Like, I don't feel like that did him justice. Like, yeah, he had his big speech at the end that politicians need to do better, but which they do, absolutely. But I don't necessarily think that they're gonna go there because they did give him that. I want to see him actually perform as Captain America completely without, I guess, the stigma that he's not captain, or without trying to be Steve Rogers, because I don't want them to go back to another Steve Rogers. I want to see Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I'm glad that they're going this route, and I think that it's a really good route for our country to go, and I think that it's needed to see that, like, hey, this guy can do it just as well.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to say it, is I want to see him performing as Captain America. Yeah. I think that's a better way of, really giving him his introduction into the, he's not going to have his, I at least hope they don't do this, but I also wouldn't mind it. If he has his I can do this all day moment, I think that's kind of what we're wanting, though. We're wanting something along those lines of, hey, he's here to fight. He's not afraid to, get down in the dumps, get dirty, and, fight whoever he has to fight. It sounds like it's going to be Red Hulk. And if he's fighting Red Hulk, he's going to have to take some punches and go through some things. So I really hope that we do get that. I think this is going to be another one of those movies similar to Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm expecting really good action scenes from this movie. So I'm hoping we get some of those things. We did get some news that the first time Red Hulk transforms, Thunderbolt Ross transforms into Red Hulk, is actually in front of the White House, in front of a whole bunch of people while he's giving a speech. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I was kind of under the impression they were kind of trying to keep it hidden that Thunderbolt Ross, President Thunder, he was Red Hulk. So I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe, he gets an assassination attempt and he turns into Red Hulk to save his life or something along those lines. I'm interested to see how they do it. Did you take anything away from that moment that they gave us, that little bit of information?
Well, it's funny you touch on the assassination attempt that was shown in the trailer immediately. Yes. That weekend, President Trump gets attempted assassination, and they remove it from the trailer. We're watching Deadpool Wolverine, and they showed the trailer for Brave New World, and they had cut Elijah Bradley making that assassination attempt out of the trailer. My assumption is Elijah Bradley's pretty successful in that attempt. They give him the serum to save his life.
Okay.
And then because the serum, that will be like his return to form speech, that he's okay, that after they failed the attempts, like, I'm fine, I'm the leader of the country, and then it triggers, and that he then transforms into Red Hulk in that moment and kind of loses control. I think that's kind of what that's going to be. So I think it gave us more story points than it did like kind of them trying to hide it. I think that kind of confirms that he's not Red Hulk during the assassination attempt, because that's inside a, bulletproof, well, not bulletproof apparently, but inside of a room. Like, it was dark, there was a bunch of people there. So if he's in front of the White House, I think that means that maybe they tried to save his life with it, kind of like Jennifer got her life saved in She-Hulk by the blood of Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, and that's why she turned into She-Hulk. I think this is going to be very similar. Hey, we actually have the vial of Bruce Banner. We're going to use this to save your life. And then when he's giving the speech, once he's better, that's when he transforms.
Yeah, I think that's a really good take. And I think I like that a lot better than the idea of them trying to have been keeping it a secret that he was Red Hulk. I think that would give more context to how it happened, who he is as a person, and all those things. Now, one thing we did talk about in our Deadpool and Wolverine trailers, we did get a little snippet, a little cameo of Mark Ruffalo's Hulk fighting Wolverine out in the woods. Do you think, I know I've asked you the same question before, do you feel like we do see Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in this movie anymore now, or do you still feel about the same that we're not going to see him?
I just don't think we see it because it's Brave New World. It's Captain America's story, and once you introduce characters like that to save the day, you kind of take away from Captain America in that moment. And I kind of want to see Captain America win this fight. It's his story. It's not Spider-Man's story. It's Captain America, Anthony Mackie's first outing. I want him to be the hero. I don't want, the Hulk to step in and save the day. And Captain America did everything he could. And, he's like, I guess I can't do this all day. And, his wings are broken and he's in the dirt and Red Hulk's about to smash him. And the Hulk shows up and knocks him across the country. That's not really what I want to see. So
it's funny you say that though, because when I'm thinking about how Hulk shows up, that's perfect, right? Literally Red Hulk's about to lay the final blow onto Captain America, Sam Wilson, and you just see a green fist come out of nowhere and stop the punch, right? That would be absolutely epic. I'm here for that. But I also agree with what you're saying, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. I want this to be Captain America's opportunity to be the one doing the fighting and stuff like that. So I agree with you. I hope that he doesn't, but I think the theater would erupt if we do see out of nowhere a green fist just stop this giant Red Hulk punch, and you just see him punch him across, the White House, and then you see Mark Ruffalo's Hulk smile at Sam Wilson. Oh, that would be awesome. But I agree with you. I hope they do keep it, this is his story. So let's hope that's how they end that. But moving on to the biggest news, I would say the biggest drop of all of San Diego Comic-Con for Marvel is...
Oh, no. Wrong theme song.
Right? we finally heard some news on the Avengers. We have the title for the next two Avengers movies. We even have some estimated dates of when we're expecting to see them. Starting with Avengers 5 will be called Doomsday. And this is obviously their first time announcing that movie trailer since they've changed it off of the Kang dynasty and that stuff. I'm excited for Doomsday. I think I'm more excited for Doomsday than I was going to be for Kang Dynasty. I touched on this a little bit when me and Zane were talking off the podcast. I think Doctor Doom might be my favorite villain in Marvel. I think he is super cool, so this has got me super excited. That is estimated to come out on May 2026. The Russo brothers are set to return to direct, which I think is huge. I think it's a huge step in the right direction for Marvel, but that wasn't probably the biggest news that we got. Zane, do you want to go ahead and break the news of probably the biggest announcement, maybe of all of San Diego Comic-Con? Because I actually read right before this podcast that the clip that Zane's about to tell you that got dropped, who they announced playing Doctor Doom, is already in the top 10 of Instagram videos ever watched all time.
Oh my.
So it blew up. It blew up. Zane, do you want to announce who is playing Doctor Doom and then give us your thoughts on it? Because I know me and you have a little bit of a disagreement on how we feel about it.
Yeah, and that what you just said about the Instagram post actually makes my opinions a little bit stronger. So, they have all the Doom bots out there on stage, and they're announcing that it's Doomsday, and then you see the one green suit appear, start walking slowly. He walks up to the front, and he rips his mask off, and underneath the mask is none other than RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., a.k.a. Tony Stark, and which now is Victor. And for me, I feel like what they're doing here is exactly what it got. I think they wanted a blow up moment, a safe pick, and they wanted everyone to be talking about Doctor Doom, and they wanted to be talking about Robert Downey Jr. coming back, and they didn't do this because he's the best man for it. I think they did it because they know people love Robert Downey Jr., and they really wanted to break the internet with the buzz about Avengers 5. I think it was more media stunt than actually good casting for it, even though no shade on Robert Downey Jr. He's one of my favorite actors. He's going to kill the role. I have no doubt about that, but he is Iron Man. And I don't think I need that in the back of my head when I see Doctor Doom. And that's just my personal opinions of it, is I don't want to be thinking about Iron Man when I watch Doctor Doom on screen for the first time in a actual MCU setting done properly the way he should have. He's already been done poorly twice. Like, we already have 2 bad ones. The world is full of amazing actors that could have pulled this off. I don't think it needed RDJ as Doctor Doom. I'm here for it. I'm going to watch it. I'm absolutely. But I think it's the same thing with I'm going to unpack the directors a little bit too. Stepping back to the Russo brothers. They have a perfect track record in the MCU. Absolutely perfect. Outside the MCU, not so much. So I think, 21 Bridges was one that they love to work with the actors they've done before. Chadwick Boseman was their star in 21 Bridges. They like to work with comfortability. They're the ones who said, I need RDJ for this. The best villain needs the best actor is what they said, and they believe that RDJ is the best actor. So they brought him back for this. The Russo brothers is a safe bet. They're going to do a great job. They're going to kill the comic book movie genre, but it's a safe bet. And I think what Marvel's admitting here is that they haven't succeeded, that they haven't developed like anyone else to carry the torch, that they can't do it without the Russo brothers, and they can't do it without Robert Downey Jr. And this is a little bit of admitting defeat for me, and I'm not super thrilled about it. I'm okay with it. I'm not upset. I'm not mad. I don't think it's terrible, but I do think it was maybe a misstep.
So don't get me wrong. I understand everyone's sentiments towards this. I understand wanting a new face. I understand that Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He is really the one that built the MCU to what it is. You can accredit him. You can accredit Chris Evans. I personally have always accredited Iron Man, personally more so than Captain America, with building up the MCU and turning it is what it is today. So I understand everyone's upset at the fact that, he already has had his limelight. Let's give someone else an opportunity. But are you kidding me? We are getting Robert Downey Jr. to play Victor Von Doom in the MCU. It does not get much better than that. And I know what people are saying. I've heard that it needs to be Cillian Murphy. I've heard that it needs to be all these other people, right? And I think those people could have done a great job. But Robert Downey Jr. is the MCU, right? He has played arguably the best hero in the MCU, the one that sacrificed it all, the one that saved everybody. Now he's getting to play the best villain, the one that's going to tear everybody down, that's going to destroy the world. That is cinema. That is beautiful to me, and I could not be more excited for it being Robert Downey Jr. I mean, just the way he, the picture, if you guys could see what Zane has pulled up right now of him with the mask off, holding his arms out, that is Victor Von Doom. That is awesome.
That is Iron Man standing in front of the Jericho missile in the desert.
Look at the mask in his hand. Look at the suit. Man, this is, if I could pick a casting, this would have been one. And I didn't think it was going to even be possible. But the fact that we are getting Robert Downey Jr. back in the MCU, Victor Von Doom, the biggest, baddest villain the MCU has ever seen, this is it for me. This was amazing. I'm probably the reason that video on Instagram has so many views because I have watched it 500 or 600 times and I have a smile on my face every time he takes that mask off. And the fans are chanting RDJ. No, this is beautiful to me. I am absolutely stoked for this. And don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. I already know what you guys are thinking. He's Iron Man, and I completely agree with you. He is Iron Man. He says it himself. But this is awesome. This is such a cool casting. I think he is going to play it better than anybody else could have. He knows how to wear the mask. He's done it before. I think it's awesome. And, you know, he even made the mention that he said, new mask, same task. What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters. That's awesome. And I think he's going to do such a fantastic job. I'm going to be that type of person that's not going to hate on it until we've seen the finished product. I have full faith in Robert Downey Jr. I have full faith in the Russo brothers because they've given us the best movies the MCU has to offer. So I'm absolutely stoked for this. And again, I know people aren't going to agree with it, but this is really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, the Russo brothers have 3 of my top 5 MCU films, with Infinity War, Endgame, and Civil War. And I know Captain America: Winter Soldier was a masterpiece. It's just it's not top 5 for me, and a lot of people have it as like their number 1. But I think they're gonna do great, and I understand your love of it. I do. I get it. Like, I'm excited. I want to see it. I just know for me watching it at the theater, I'm going to be thinking about Iron Man RDJ instead of Victor Von Doom. Like, I'm going like that's a me problem. Let's get it out there. It's a me problem. And in Oppenheimer, when he was playing his character, man, I'm losing the name of the character he played in that. But I didn't think Robert Downey Jr. I didn't think Robert Downey Jr. I didn't even think Iron Man, because it was so different, so crazy different. But Victor Von Doom can have quite a bit of similarities. They're both in the suit. They both have very techie. Now, I'm very excited to see that this is Victor Von Doom and not an infamous Iron Man variant. And I hope they don't change that, because they did state Victor Von Doom, I believe, at San Diego Comic-Con, not a rogue Tony Stark. If it's a rogue Tony Stark, it would make more sense to me. But I do want Victor Von Doom to be Doctor Doom, because I think that's the proper variant that we need to see this go down if we're going to go to Secret Wars with a Doomsday, which I'm assuming Doomsday is going to be a lot like Infinity War, where Doctor Doom wins. Doctor Doom wins, and then Secret War will be the conclusion of that storyline, where they join forces to defeat Doctor Doom, everyone across all universes ever. So I'm excited for it, and it gets me more excited for Doomsday than I was Kang, because I was really worried about that whole timeline. It seems like nobody's on board with liking that. I was enjoying the King timeline. I was enjoying Quantumania more than most people did. Loki is my favorite Marvel show. So I liked all of that, and I was excited for it. I'm a little sad it's going down, but it does actually make Loki even better for me, knowing that Kang's gone. Right? Like Loki, like, hey, we have one variant out there. We'll keep him under control. Loki's going to make sure that Kang doesn't reappear. And so now Doomsday is stepping into it. So I do like that. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr., man, I have the most, Ryan Airy from Screen Crush, he actually posted, like, the more I think about it, the more I hate it, and the more I'm excited about it. And I'm like almost right there. Like, I'm so excited to see his representation of it and what he can do with the character and his acting chops on full display. But I'm also like, well, why? But
man, it's got me so excited, and just some of the potential things they could do here. I mean, I think with Secret Wars, I think we know we're going to get everybody back. I think Chris Evans will be back for that one. I think Robert Downey Jr. will be back as Iron Man in Secret Wars. I think it's going to be crazy. I think we're going to see all the stops pulled out. I've been seeing some people putting some like fan edits out there of like scenes we could get, and I saw one that said Captain America looking at Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom takes his mask off and he says Stark. Like, Captain America says that, and Doctor Doom says, "Who's Stark?" And like stuff like that would be so cool if they do some of those plays. I saw one that said Iron Man's daughter was going to be in Secret Wars, and she was going to be suited up, and she was actually going to say, "I hate you 3000." Instead of "I love you 3000."
Okay,
and I was like,
that's cool.
I was like, that's kind of funny. But I was like, they there's some fun stuff they could do to kind of make jokes at what they did. So I think it's exciting. I'm super pumped for this. I know you're right there on the fence with it. I know you're excited one minute and upset about it the next minute. But I think this is really cool and really exciting.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they did it. I'm shocked that they did it, but it clearly was effective.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's talking about it.
Yep.
I've had 3 people text me about it that haven't texted me in a long time. They text me about Deadpool and the Wolverine. and then they text me about this casting,
Yep.
which is, I mean, that's crazy. Like that people are like literally reaching out to people that care about it and like, hey, what's your opinion on this? I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think it's about 50-50, I would say, for people that love it and 50 that hate it for me. And I think online we're getting more hate from it.
I agree.
Which I think is stupid. I've expressed my concerns with it, but I'm not just gonna like, and I'll be like, I can say why, but I don't think going off and saying like this is stupid and like they're ruining things and like they had no other options. Like I don't think, I think they do have a reason for it, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. But I do think it's been getting a little bit too much hate, and I do just hope this does one thing, and that is it doesn't touch the legacy of RDJ's Iron Man, because he was the perfect casting, he was the perfect representation, he had the perfect story arc, and I don't want this to put any kind of blight on his opinions in the fans of his performance for Iron Man, of Infinity War, and what he was able to do, because that's my biggest worry, is that now he may go down as, you know, the biggest miss in Marvel instead of the best person in Marvel.
Yeah, I agree. I hope they do stay clear of affecting that Iron Man legacy. And I think the Russo brothers, and I also think Robert Downey Jr., are going to make every effort to not allow something like that to happen.
For sure.
So that's good. I have full faith in them. Like I said, that is Avengers 5, which is titled Doomsday. That is May 2026. And we touched on a little bit. We did get the news of the next Avengers movie, which is Avengers Secret Wars, which will be coming out in May 2027. And we really didn't get much news on Secret Wars other than we got the title, we did get the logo, and then we obviously got the date. But overall, that was kind of most of the Marvel news that we got. I'm going to ask you, Zane, what was your favorite thing that got announced? Was there something that really stood out to you that you were like, okay, I'm excited about that? I know you touched on how much you enjoyed the Thunderbolts panel and stuff like that, but was there something else that you liked more than others, or was it the Thunderbolts for you?
Probably RDJ. No, that was my craziest moment. But yeah, probably actually Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder.
Okay.
I'm really excited. I love learning more about things that make me dive deeper and study things more and actually like take a deep dive. And then it got me more excited for that storyline. And I think that was a very good announcement. And he's announced that he's going to get a show after it. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to learn more about his character, and I'm more excited for him in Brave New World. As a whole, the project that got me the most excited was Thunderbolts. I'm very excited for that now. But yeah, I think Giancarlo Esposito's character as Sidewinder was actually my favorite announcement.
Yeah, and I think that's a great one. Like I said, there was a lot of good announcements, but honestly, for me, it is just knowing that it's Doctor Doom. I think we've known for a while now it was going to be. But with the Kang stuff, I mean, there was even rumors for a little while they had recast him.
Yep.
And that they were going to continue that storyline. So I'm happy they finally just planted their feet and said, no, we're done with the Kang storyline. I think, like you said, it does make Loki hit even harder.
Yep.
That he was able to take care of Kang on his own. I love that. I think that was really cool. So I love that aspect of it. And just the fact that we're getting Doctor Doom officially now. I mean, we've literally seen Doombots on stage. We've seen the new Doctor Doom. I love that. So that's got me super excited. And I cannot absolutely wait to see what story they tell, how they're going to wrap it all up. But, you know, one thing I'm interested to see is we're finally starting to get to the end of this era of the MCU, right? They've announced the next two Avengers movies. We know Secret Wars is going to wrap up this era of the MCU. And this is a really early question to be asking because obviously Secret Wars is still about 3 years away. So we still have a lot of stuff we have to touch up on and a lot of stuff we have to talk about. But where do they go from here? Do they do a reset of the MCU, or do you think they have another story they want to tell after Secret Wars? Again, I know that's a super early question to be asking, but we're starting to get into that era where the roadmap is there for this era to be done.
Yeah.
What do you think they go from there?
Honestly, I don't know. I think they try to touch on the young characters in the next generation a little bit more. You know, I was kind of expecting a Young Avengers announcement with Kate Bishop and kind of seeing some of those projects that are coming out with Wicket and some of the other Young Avengers that have been introduced but not had any limelight. I don't know if they continue that and let them have their run at it, kind of currently in the DC comics, like Teen Titans actually are the main runners of that storyline. The Justice League isn't there anymore. And so in the comic panels, they are the leaders, and I think that storyline's coming to an end. But I don't know if they kind of go that way and kind of let all the Avengers kind of step out. I don't know if they go more cosmic entity and we get to see more Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova Corps, and some of that with Captain Marvel, and go outer space more than Earthbound, with maybe actually do the Eternals proper and see some. Because I mean, space is my favorite, so I would happily see X-Men on Earth, and then a cosmic entities with maybe like a cosmic Ghost Rider, and kind of see some of the amazing storytelling that they can do out there with some of those fun characters and story plots. But there's an infinite amount of storylines they can go to, but a lot of them requires characters that we've had already. So I don't know. I think maybe they go X-Men and they split into a branch of a new reality, but kind of save Iron Man out of there. Like, they don't really replace Captain America. Maybe we get Sam Wilson's Captain America for that instead. And so maybe they just try to like kind of reset with maybe X-Men as the forerunners of their next universe, and we get to see the same cosmic like storylines as well. I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
I think I'm right in the same line with you. Now, you mentioned X-Men. Do you think they hold off on X-Men until Secret Wars is done at this point, or do you think we get an X-Men movie that also leads into Secret Wars?
So I think the only X-Men we're going to see before the end of Secret Wars is going to be, I think, X-Men 97. Every character in that will be in Secret Wars.
Okay.
And I think that they're going to cast live action characters for that. And I think that we're going to see the Deadpool variants and their X-Men to get pulled in.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we're going to see Fox's. I would say that's probably a pretty high likelihood that we'll see Fox's X-Men. But I don't think we're going to see anything Marvel X-Men other than what we've already seen with Photon or Binary in Captain Marvel, in the Marvels. Now, we saw Beast and we saw
Storm.
No, it wasn't Storm. It was I think it was Binary.
Oh, I think it was. Yeah. I thought we did see.
So because Spectre got pulled into the other one. So I don't know. That's another thing that Marvel's been doing is they give us these end credit scenes that we're super excited for. They're good. That are telling us stories we want to see. Like, I wanted to see Cleo and Doctor Strange announced here at this SDCC. So, I mean, we have so many stories still in this universe that need to be told. The fact that we haven't seen Shang-Chi in this storyline, there's so many stories to be told with the characters we have. They don't really need to do a reset. But I think maybe the story they're telling with Secret Wars forces them to one, because Secret War, I think at Doomsday he's going to combine I think he's going to beat Loki and combine them all into one timeline, get all the characters into one, and have them create Battle World and fight each other. But I don't know. I don't know what story they're going for here. I don't know if they're switching it up. And so I've never read Secret Wars. It's something I'll be doing before May 2027.
Yeah.
Because I do kind of curious what they are thinking about. A lot of times maybe the content that is pulled from is better than the content. But I mean, I read Civil War before Civil War came out, and I love Civil War. So I think, I don't know. That was a lot of rambling. That was a big nothing burger with no predictions. But I have no clue. I don't know what Kevin Feige's thinking.
Yeah, I was just curious because we are getting to that point where the roadmap's there for the end of this era. Endgame was the end of a saga. This Secret Wars is going to be the end of this saga. So it's definitely interesting to see where they're going, but we have a lot of fun stuff in the meantime to keep us held over until we get to that stuff. Overall, I think Marvel did a fantastic job with this panel. We were expecting more, I think, but I think this is kind of similar to what we talked about with DC. I think they just went with the stuff that they knew for sure was coming out. They didn't give us the Shang-Chi's. They didn't give us the Strange and Cleo's because they might not be for sure of what we're getting with that stuff. So I think this is okay. I think this was a great panel. The stuff we did get to hear about was super fun and exciting. So overall, I really enjoyed the announcements that we got, and I'm excited to see what's coming.
Yeah, and, we said, this is less than what we probably expected. I'm surprised we didn't get anything Agatha.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things coming out that they really should have probably touched on, but here's the reason they didn't. And I know that for a fact because not this Friday, but next Friday is Disney Plus Day.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
Disney Plus, their calls, their announcements, they love to announce things on Disney Day. I'm it's not called Disney Plus Day.
I
It's
know
called
a D23.
yeah, D23. And at D23, Marvel always has a big showing. That was the time that they showed way too much with the shows that they had. So we didn't get an update on Ironheart. We didn't get an update on any of those shows that are
Yeah,
kind of
Iron
out
Wars,
in limbo.
yeah.
Iron Wars,
Vision,
Iron
Vision
Wars is
Quest.
apparently a movie now.
Yeah.
So I think some of the things they had to hold close to the hip. I think these are the projects they're really excited about, that they really want to. And then we're going to get to see the Spotlight and Television series announced next Friday at D23 on August 9th. That's my expectation.
Now, do you think we do see just Disney Plus shows at D23, or do you think they give us some movie information like Strange and Cleo, stuff like that?
I think we may see slight information. I don't think we see any like original titles announced at D23, like Strange and Cleo. I don't think we see a Shang-Chi 2. I think it's all kind of rumored ones that we're going to get. I think we're going to get an official announcement on when Ironheart's going to be released. We're going to get an official announcement on what's going on with Iron Wars or Armor Wars. And then we're going to get to make sure that we get like another sneak peek at maybe, what is it? Agatha.
Yeah.
All the way. So I think that's kind of what we're going to get. I think it's going to be lesser than this because SDCC is so special.
Yeah.
But D23 needs to tell their stockholders how they're still going to make money with Disney Plus that's losing money.
Yeah.
So,
so I think that's something to look forward to, which I didn't realize that was so close. So that could be a good reason as to why we didn't get some show updates, because this was all movies. You know, all movie heavy, all big title stuff really too. I mean, Fantastic Four is huge. Thunderbolts, not as big, but I think they did enough to maybe push it into that echelon a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't really have a lot of other movies that we know about, so that makes sense. Captain America, Brave New World, it's Captain America. Makes sense to be there. And then obviously the biggest of them all, Avengers, those make sense to be here at SDCC. So overall, I think Marvel did a great job. But like I said, that's about all the coverage that we got from Marvel. I'm sure those trailers will start to leak their way out that were shown there at some point. So that's some stuff we're going to be keeping our eyes out for, so we can let you guys know. We'll break them down for you as well. But other than that, I think that's about all we have for the SDCC news, unless there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
No, I think that's good. I think it's exciting and it's funny. They didn't announce anything new.
Nope.
Right? There was no new projects released. So I'm curious if they'll continue that route with the 9th or maybe switch it up. But yeah, I think that's pretty good, man. It's been fun. I love talking about Marvel news. It's so much fun.
The news is sometimes more fun to talk about than the actual reviews and stuff, because we get to speculate. You know, we get to have our fantasies, like me talking about the Green Hulk catching the Red Hulk's punch, right? So that's the fun stuff we get to talk about. You know, I can't wait to hear Captain America think that Dr. Doom is Tony Stark. I mean, I can't wait for that stuff, right? But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Weekly Fix. Again, make sure you are hitting that share button. You're showing your friends about it. Let your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your friends, your brothers, let everybody know about the podcast, and make sure they all rate it. And obviously, you got to give us those 5 stars so we can one day get to SDCC and get to do the reporting ourselves. I think that would be absolutely awesome. But again, guys, we do appreciate what you guys have already been doing for us and all the views that you've been giving us. And we know the podcast has been getting shared around a lot, so we always appreciate that. But as for all the news for SDCC, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will hear you in the next one.